Hardcast, where we go to the dead side to discuss Shadowman, Volume 1. So, I'm Humphrey Erm, and with me as always is Christian Kloss. So, Chris, Shadowman, thoughts?
I actually really liked it. I mean, the lore was really, really interesting. I don't really know what else to say about it specifically, but it's a very interesting premise. You know, I mean, we've seen this thing before about like the son taking the mantle from the father, and
The sins of our father.
and I don't know, huh?
Yeah, the sins of our father.
Yeah, and it's again, it's really interesting, just how it sets up. I really love the whole New Orleans kind of feeling to it, the whole juju and magic kind of voodoo stuff. It's really cool. Like just the setting is just really awesome.
Well, that's
And
something I also find refreshing. Because again, with superheroes, it tends to always be big cities.
Yeah,
Which I mostly blame Marvel for, because apparently the reason everyone was situated in New York was simply because the writers and artists lived there, so it was easy reference for everyone.
yeah, of course, yeah. It wasn't that the whole thing about Spider-Man was created because Stanley looked out of the window and was imagining someone swinging by.
Oh, that I haven't heard, but that sounds very plausible.
Yeah, it's
That's
very
what I
possible.
mean. It's nice
yeah,
to.
yeah.
That's what I mean. It's nice to see something, like, oh, it's not New York, or
Yeah,
a
definitely.
suspiciously similar substitute, Metropolis, Gotham, whatever.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, again, I like the villain, Mr. Twist here, and the
I love
setup
him
is pretty
too.
good. Yeah, he's a little bit interesting. I mean, I have to say, just from a reader point of view, I couldn't. Maybe it's just because of the digital copy that we have, or I have, but I had trouble sometimes reading the text.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, sometimes when they were like talking, especially in the later chapters when they were talking, and like when Shadowman came in, like his father still came in, he had this really weird font that it made it really difficult to actually read what he was saying. But I kind of
Oh,
zoomed
like
in and
that
I
you
saw
mean?
it. But
Okay. I
yeah,
thought you
yeah.
meant it was like an actual like quality thing in terms of like
No,
that
no, no,
actual like
no, but
text quality was bad. And I was like, oh wow, really? I
no, no,
didn't
it was the
notice.
it was the font. It was the font.
Well, when the letterer finds a fun font, they want to put it everywhere.
Yeah, of course, yeah. No, but it is good. I really like it. It's so interesting that I would want to continue reading this, of course, because it is just one of those stories where there's just so much happening and there's so much potential for all these interesting stories. And obviously, we've seen this kind of like a death personified kind of superhero in other franchises as well, but I've never seen it like this. I don't know. Because at the beginning, I guess he's not really controlling the dead; he's still kind of fighting it, and so there's a lot to still find out about it. And yeah, it's kind of nice to have like this legacy character. Like, I'm assuming he's a legacy character. I don't know if
Well,
he
yeah, I
really
mean, at
is, but
least.
yeah.
Well, I think you just need one person to take it on to become a legacy character, but you'll
Do
see
you? I thought
later
it had
as
to be like a
well.
whole family thing.
I don't think so. I mean, of course, that whole family would be it. Like the Phantom.
Yeah.
So, but I remember like Blue Beetle even before the third one, it was referred to as a legacy character. So there
Okay.
only was like the Ted Cord version of him.
Okay.
I think it's basically when you take on the mantle, that
Yeah.
then you become a legacy character, and then it could be expanded upon further, either in the story itself or through publication, as in like it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
the story itself dictating it, but yeah.
Cool.
So, but there was one thing I thought of immediately, and I wanted to bring it up now before I won't forget. I have it written down, but wouldn't this make the perfect CW show?
Yeah, kind of. I mean,
You have a high concept. You have what's
yeah,
called, and you have an attractive young man as the what's called the hero. He gets
right.
these powers thrust upon him. He has a love
Yeah,
interest. he has an
Yeah.
entourage, who have all like the exposition. That he has his
Yeah.
basically Cisco Wells kind of characters.
Yeah.
And all the stuff that will be explained as it goes, as well as an easy way to have like a monster of the week.
Right.
I don't.
No,
I'm just like
I could definitely see this as a CW show. I mean, it definitely would lend itself to it. Yeah.
right after they explain what's called right after Docs explains what they have to do. What's called he'll oh man, I totally forgot her name. Do you remember her name?
No, I'm very bad at remembering. I'm really bad at remembering names.
Yeah, no, but
horrible.
well, either way, no, but then it'd just be like they after all the like explanations have been going on and the like strategy, they pull them over. And
Elisa.
Elisa, he'll pull in Elisa and hey, yeah, about that kiss earlier.
Yeah.
No, don't think about it. Don't think about we'll have like 10 minutes of that, because that's more important than fighting demons.
Yeah, you're just projecting your feelings towards the last couple of episodes of Arrow.
Now, those feelings have been throughout all those shows, and again, it's fine. But just I can't help but point it out. But either way, that's neither here or there.
Yeah. One thing I have to say about the the main villain, Dark. I don't know if you remember
the
this,
actual like villain.
Yeah, but I don't know if you remember this, but my OC back in the day was called Dark, spelt in the exact same way.
Oh, really? And I didn't think about the spelling. Yeah.
Yeah, like the actual that spelling, and I had to actually laugh when I read it because, I remember when I did it, it was just so pretentious because it's like it's dark, but it's not spelled DRK, DARK. It's spelled with a QUE, because it's awesome.
Because poor literacy is cool.
Yeah, but it's just like because it looks like a name, and I just remember like I had so many characters that were just called Dark with a QUE.
Well, doesn't this prove it to you that it's perfectly fine? I mean, the professionals do it.
Yeah, but I just still think it's kind of pretentious and kind of I don't know. It's just kind of like too on the nose, and it was the kind of thing that like a 16, 17-year-old creates when they're all emo and trying to make people like see how tortured they are inside and all that crap. Like I remember one time I remember because this was the time when I was getting into the J-rock kind of stuff, like the Visual K stuff.
Oh, I remember that.
And they all had these really weird names. So I was kind of thinking like I really need a cool like Christian is such a weird name. So then I decided to I was like looking at my name. I was like, okay, well, how about I change it to like make my screen name CHRI. So like this is the beginning of my name, and it's pronounced cry.
Yeah. No. Awesome, Chris.
No, it's not. It's not. It's stupid and pretentious, and it's disgusting. But yeah, let's get on with the Shadowman.
It's only stupid and pretentious if you don't make any money out of it.
That is true. That is very true.
All right. No, but yeah, exactly. It's so. But one thing you might have noticed now from because this is the first new character you've seen now. Well, then again, we only got to see Exo Manowar Volume 2, which was the only returning one so far. Mm-hmm. But from these, we kind of have, how should we say, these like subgenres within the superhero world, like of the Valiant universe. We have Exo Manowar, which is sort of a sci-fi with some history in it. Harbinger, the teen drama, so X-Men kind of book. Bloodshot, the action, just straight up action. Archer and Armstrong, buddy comedy. And now we have this kind of like horror supernatural theme.
Right.
Do you think that the Valiant, by doing this, do you think they'll actually get other people who are fans of the subgenre, so to speak, to get into it? Or is it just to give the people who already like the superheroes to just give some more variety to them?
I think that you can't really get people interested in a comic if they're not interested in comics in the beginning. So no matter how much of a superhero fan or as so much of a like a horror genre fan I'd be. If I don't like comics generally, I wouldn't pick up a comic no matter what the theme. I do remember one time I did actually, as a Christmas present and kind of as a joke, I gave my mom the comic book version of Pride and Prejudice, only because literally Pride and Prejudice is her favorite book. So I thought, why not give it to her in a comic book form? And this was like the full comic book, so the full story in comic book form. And she read it in like 3 or 4 days. Like, she was really into it and she really liked it. But she hasn't picked up a comic book since. So I think if you have people, who are kind of on the precipice of the of like reading comics, you can use this to kind of get them more interested into it. Like, you can say, okay, hey, I know you're really into like all this, horror and how would you call it? Like this kind of like a voodoo kind of themes. Why don't you check out this new comic from Valiant? I mean, it has these kind of stories. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll read it. And then they'll look through it and see, yeah, it's good. Maybe I'll continue reading. Maybe I won't. I guess it depends a lot on how they react to comics as a medium.
So yeah, no, exactly. So, and I agree with that. I was just curious if you thought any differently, because I pretty much agree with you on point there. So I think that's the reason why
it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing because they try to because with comics it's just a crazy. Well, it has also a little bit of a stigma. I mean, maybe not anymore. People, I think, would be more accepting to read a comic book if you showed them one, because there's so many comic books and movies now. That I think you could go up to someone and say, like, hey, read this Captain America book, and they'd be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll give it a chance. But do that like 10, 20 years ago. I don't think, oh God, maybe 20, 30 years, maybe 10 years is too short of a time. But do it like 20 years ago, I think people would be a little bit more resistant to reading a Captain America book than they are now, especially, for example, here in Germany or something.
Oh yeah, well, again, it also has to do with the culture as well. I mean, again, in France, everyone likes comics. Well, I guess it's
but also a certain type of
generalization.
comics.
Of course, but still, like the concept of a comic isn't something that's like everyone. They're a lot like Japan in that sense. There's like, well, there's something for everyone. You have your kids' comics, you have your what's called teen drama comics, you have your more adult comics, you have your pornography. Like, there's something for everyone.
Right.
So, but oftentimes with, I think the whole thing with superheroes, though, is that no matter how often they want to make it serious, be it either, taking established characters and making them gritty, or doing something like Watchmen, where you take the whole concept and, figure out like a whole like world, that how would the world really react to all this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But in the end, it's about people in costume, and I think costumes in that sense are what put people off in a sense, because no one really would do that, and the only people who do it, now do it because of the comics, not the other way around.
Right.
Because that's the whole thing. That's why other kinds of stories, like a good example actually would be kind of going off track here, but I actually kind of like this topic. It would be Ant-Man. Have you ever read the actual first issue of Ant-Man? Not when he becomes Ant-Man, but about Hank Pym when he shrinks.
No.
Because that was just like a one-shot idea. It was just a one-shot horror story about a scientist who shrinks, and all this horror stuff happening with all these ants attacking him. And that was it, it just kind of like, then he manages to grow back up and be like, too much power for one man, and throws away the potion or whatnot.
Yeah.
So, but then, and again, that works. Nothing in that story makes it feel like it's a, superhero. But then when, they think like, hey, you know what? Shrinking could be a cool power as well as controlling ants. What if we take him and make him a superhero? And then suddenly from there, what goes from a nice kind of creepy, little horror story becomes now a superhero story because he puts on a costume.
Right.
Again, it's an interesting topic, but maybe we should better save that for something else then. But
yeah, exactly. We could do a comic podcast some other time.
All right. One thing I wanted to bring up though regarding this volume of Shadowman, though, something that I didn't think about the first time around because I wasn't really being nitpicky about it. The covers actually represent what's going on inside.
Yes, but they suck.
I don't know about
I
that.
really well, they don't suck. I don't really like saying something is bad or something that's just not to my taste. I mean, looking at the cover of the first issue, which is also the cover for the volume, it's so boring.
I'll agree with that.
Right? I mean, it's just so like, here's the villain, here's the hero, here's some skulls. I mean, there's nothing really. It just looks so. I mean, I don't understand why they make such boring covers in that sense, because it's just there's the possibilities are literally endless. There's no budget that's taking them away from like making a huge drawing with it's not like they can't physically film it, you know what I mean? Or they can't set it up in a photo studio or something like that. They can literally just draw whatever they want. And I think it would be much more powerful to have a cover that just shows a little bit of the lore, show the ghosts, show him like in the middle of all these ghosts and just fighting off ghosts or something like that, and maybe this villain in the background or something. It's just because it's just so, I'm standing here and there's a bad guy standing behind me. Woo, great. And I mean, again, the art is great. The art is fine. It's just the setup is just so, yeah, for lack of a better word, just boring.
So yeah, I mean, what's it called? I don't think I would go as strongly as you feel about it, but I'd use the word generic in a sense. Like I feel it does its job. I mean, okay, there's the hero, very clear as you said, villain. But I think it
Yeah.
does its job then in terms of just informing you of the contents as well as tone.
Yeah, no, but
So,
does
but
it
it's
really? I mean, there's not really much tone in the picture. It's just two people or two creatures standing behind each other. There's no. I mean, I don't feel any tone there. It's just another superhero staring me in the face, looking grim. That like 98% of all covers are exactly that. It's kind of like with the same thing where how sometimes on the internet when there's like movie posters coming out, they're always so generic. It's always like the main character with his back to the viewer, looking over his shoulder or some shit like that. And then there's it's just a group of them. And then you see like on the internet, and you see like these minimalist posters that they make for like there was this one series where this guy did a minimalist poster for every single Marvel Universe movie that had come out by that time. And they were so amazing because they were just so interesting. They were so well designed. And especially if you just compare them to the posters of the ones that they actually went with, it's just Iron Man standing there. And I mean, it was different when you were when it was the old posters where the posters were hand painted, because then they were a work of art, and they were just the way that it was done was amazing enough as it is. But now they're just photoshopped together. You just throw it together, make the woman's boobs a little bit bigger, and that's a poster. But that's what it is. That's what it amounts to nowadays, and that's kind of sadly that's what it amounts to, because you could do such an amazing artistic thing, and there are amazing people out there who could do such amazing posters, but they don't seem to want to use that, either because of fear of doing something different or because that's just the way it has always been. And I feel it's the same way here in comics.
So yeah, no, that can. Well, I mean, I agree with that. Like I said, I agree with you that the cover's generic,
Yeah.
but I just don't feel like it's I mean, of course, it doesn't do itself any favors by being generic, but I just feel like, well, it's what I'd expect. And again, it's hard to have all covers always be interesting.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, I feel like the first cover needs to be like, it needs to blow people out of the water.
Yeah,
because
but the thing is also
that's the selling point, right?
Of course, but that's the thing too. Well, then again, I don't think it's as much as before. I mean, how many people actually go into a comic book shop? I mean, sure, people go in to browse, but how many people go to like the weekly comics and all right, let's see which covers speak to me. I mean, aren't you already kind of thinking? I mean, sure,
Yeah.
it will help. You'll help those people who do that, or are just looking for what they're actually looking.
Yeah.
But it's not like the what's called the old days, which none of us were alive for. Yeah, no, but I'm thinking like the golden age of comics in America, where they just had all these what's called newsstands with just all these comics, all fighting for attention.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, because there, it made more sense in a sense, because you're not going to check online, check reviews or whatnot, and you didn't really have a book, a magazine that was collecting all this and saying, like, yeah, you really should check out Action Comics.
Yeah.
It's the covers there that's kind of like, oh, sweet, someone's, picking up a car.
Yeah.
But that's not the same case today, especially, first of all, it's hard to impress us because we've seen so much already now. I mean, even looking at one of the more interesting covers of the Valiant characters now, like Exo Manowar's first cover.
Mm.
I mean, it's a nice piece, him fighting aliens in space.
Right.
But, it's nothing unique. I'm sure there's similar Green Lantern covers, Silver Surfer covers.
Yeah, well, I'm not
Superman covers too.
I'm not saying that they have to be unique in that sense. They just have to be, they don't have to be so generic. I mean, it doesn't have to be the guy standing in front of the villain, or the hero standing in front of the villain. Just why not just have a little bit of more, like, even that whole thing about like fighting aliens in space, that immediately is a little bit more interesting. It's like an action panel,
So if you were to take like the elements that were in the Shadowman cover then, like the first one.
Yeah.
Like not changing anything else except for, you just have the elements.
Yeah.
So if you had it be him fighting Mr. Twist.
No, I think,
assuming, it's like well drawn and stuff.
I think, what I would, okay, here's what I would do. And I'm not saying that I'm like I'm here like the expert in that sense and I know what to do. But
listen up, Valiant Entertainment.
No. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be like, here's how to do it, guys. But here's something that I would find as a reader interesting to see. Just taking what's happened in the first issue, why not have the kid, what's his name?
Jack Boniface.
Right. Have Jack. All right, so we're gonna go like this. Close up on Jack's face. He has the amulet around his neck. Okay, it's all shadowy. The entire like his face is like draped in shadow, so you can see every contour of his face. And faded in front of it, on half of it at least, is then Shadowman. So it's kind of like like half, but it's really like designed well, so it kind of blends together. And in the center, you have that amulet in the middle of his on his chest, right, or on his collarbone, where he holds it. So it kind of focuses on that, because I feel in the first issue that amulet was really important. I mean, so much so that they talked about it right away in the first panel, or a second panel, I guess. But still, that was like one of the main focuses. And then in the dark, behind everything, you can kind of see Mr. Twist kind of fading in just a little bit, so you see that he's behind him, kind of like he's a threatening presence that's above him. But right now, the most important part in this story is his transformation to Shadowman, his identity being played with and stuff like that. I feel that that's just if then an artist takes that idea and actually runs with it, you could make a very interesting cover, because you could have the teeth and the eyes glowing behind Shadowman, or this kind of a half Shadowman, half Jack hybrid, where you then immediately there you can see, okay, Jack is going to become Shadowman, the amulet plays a big role, and there's a huge monster that's going to attack him. You have 4 elements, 4 out of the 5 elements that are in this cover already would then be present, and I feel that it would be much interesting than just a guy in front of a villain with some skulls in behind. So I guess the only thing I've left out, the only thing I've left out so far is just the skulls, like the death kind of metaphor. But that can be also added in somehow.
All right. You should be an editor.
Sure. I mean, Obviously, I have editing skills. That's why I work at a car company.
Yeah, no, but again, it's interesting to hear these kinds of things, and that's the kind of stuff I like discussing as well. Besides just recapping, the contents.
Yeah.
But here's another thing I'd like to bring up then, which I'm not sure if that might have been either good or bad regarding Shadowman. But did you notice that there was like no reference at all to anything else Valiant related in this? It's very self-contained.
Yeah, it seems like that. Yeah, I didn't hear any talk about any other characters. There was nothing going on in these characters. There was nothing like they didn't talk about anything else in Valiant. But then again, I don't feel like many of the other the other issues did either.
So, well, not as much, of course. Little things in terms of mentioning Project Rising Spirit and stuff in Harbinger as well as in Bloodshot.
Yeah, but we don't know that yet.
So that's true.
I mean,
I guess you wouldn't know the importance of it yet, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, you know that. You know that they're mentioning all the stuff that's going to happen later, but I don't know that. And now you just really spoiled me, you douche.
Well, that's what I do.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? It's like I don't know that. I didn't know that Harbinger was going to be a huge thing. I mean, I didn't realize that. I mean, so far as I know, I mean, I've only read 1 second volume, and that only had like a whole Ninjak thing. So technically, I don't know that there's going to be
a new element, anyways.
I didn't know that there's going to be a connected universe. I mean, they haven't mentioned it yet. I mean, I know that there's that alien invasion, but I don't technically know that that's going to have an effect on the other characters in this universe yet. I mean, obviously, I do know because I read the Valiant, but yeah. So you just ruined it for me. You suck, Humphrey. You suck.
Yeah, I ruined the whole thing that's all about the shared superhero universe.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that maybe they just wouldn't do that. Maybe they didn't have a shared superhero universe. Maybe they just liked being alone. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, well. So, but, what's called, regarding, ignoring that then, the overall concept of the dead side, how do you feel that works then with superhero universe when, I don't think they mentioned it for the reboot, but as I mentioned to you before, one of their slogans before was "Where dead is dead."
Mm-hmm.
But if they've now shown this thing here, dead side, where okay, there are ghosts of people,
yeah,
like death isn't the final frontier in that sense. Not that we've seen anyone get resurrected or anything,
right?
But if you can travel there, it's like if you can travel to heaven or whatnot in a story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, okay, so they're actually sure there'll be some rules and stuff, but are we gonna be able to? I don't know, if let's go, Auric dies or something, are we gonna have an adventure where they go into the dead side to save him?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I don't know the rules yet about this world, so maybe Eric could be, so to speak, alive in the dead zone, but that doesn't mean that he can be brought back. I mean, maybe you're referencing something that did happen in the comics, but from now,
no, I'm not. I mean, I guess.
Well, because right now I'm just kind of looking at it, going like, well, okay, there's a dead. There's basically a hell or a purgatory. I think that monkey called it, without saying the name for it, but there's that purgatory kind of thing. And I think maybe they'd be able to go and visit these dead people, but they wouldn't be able to become to be able to take them back in any way. I feel right now I'd be like, okay, well, if they say that dead is dead, then dead will be dead. I mean, they might be around as ghosts, but they will be dead. That's how I see it right now.
All right. Yeah, no. Okay, yeah, no, because I've heard some people bring that up, that they... they feel that the moment you have something like that, I guess a bit like in Marvel with Asgard with Hell.
Yeah.
So that like the goddess of death.
Mm-hmm.
The moment you have someone you can talk to regarding this, natural occurring thing,
Yeah.
then you can reason with it. It'll be hard, but it's possible in a sense.
Yeah. Well, again, I hope not. I
It's
mean,
like,
I hope there isn't like that, because I don't really like those retcons, because I mean, just like in Arrow right now, I mean, this is kind of the problem, because a character died in the most recent episode of Arrow, but we know immediately right now that character is going to come back to life. You and I both said it right away from the beginning. We were both like, okay, something happened where she's not really dead. Like, and I feel that was kind of annoying, because we didn't have that sorrow for that death, because we knew that it was going to be retconned in some way. So I think as soon as you bring back the possibility that people can come back from the dead, it just it makes the drama less so. Because you can do it like once or twice. Like you can do it like where, like in Captain America, Winter Soldier, the movie. You can have Nick Fury die, quote unquote die, and come back to life, because they can explain it. Like things like, okay, we use that serum, whatever, to make the heart slower and all that kind of stuff. But you can only do that once. Whoever's going to die in Captain America's Civil War needs to stay dead. There's no question about it. So you can't keep pulling those things, because then we're going to stop believing it. That's why I really hope that in the dead side, when they can be there as ghosts, but they cannot come back to the real world. They can't come back to life. Because if they do that, I'm going to stop reading.
So, all right. Yeah, no, exactly. This is kind of thing I want to bring up, though. Especially with this being because that's what I mean. That's the nice thing with Valiant. I mean, even the original Valiant isn't super old. I mean, it's old now, but it's not nearly as much as DC and Marvel.
Of course, yeah.
And with a reboot, they can people aren't attached to the characters in that sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like when Cap dies in the comics, will last a year
spoilers.
At most, because, well, has he died more than once, or I don't know?
No, I don't know. I don't keep up with the comics,
but that kind of thing. Yeah. No, but that's the kind of thing there, it's, but that's because you want the status quo, because unless for whatever reason the change they make, like whoever takes over the mantle of the dead hero, unless that were to be like, oh wow, suddenly we're selling, quadruple copies. Maybe they should just stay dead.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, I'm sure they'd think, well, we don't have to get rid of the new hero. We can still bring them back, and they can be a mentor or something, or you just have 2 issues out or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean with Valiant. It would be nice if if they are what's the word? Consequential, or consistent.
Yeah, consistent. Yeah.
Yeah, consistent and firm about when you're dead, they're dead.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, and heck, even the dead side then could be a bit of a compromise, as you mentioned. Maybe they could travel to talk to them. Probably be more than just, oh yeah, I gotta go talk to the guy. Okay, yeah, sure, hold on.
Yeah.
It'll probably be one of my favorite lines of South Park. So, time travel is no laughing matter. So 4 times the original Star Trek crew traveled back in time, and 4 times they almost didn't make it back.
Right.
So it'll have, of course, its dangers and whatnot, but
yeah.
All right, and what's called? Yeah, no, I mean it's. One thing I wanted to bring up though was that, and I've kind of mentioned it before, or kind of hinted at, but this has been the consistently worst selling book of the Valiant line.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I kind of want to just start reading volume 2 and 3 now, just to kind of see is it something later that happens that kind of messes it all up?
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember that's being the overall, both on the Valiant subreddit and on what's called Valiant Effort and other kind of like podcasts. It's like kind of like it's one of those things. It's those opinions that you're assumed.
Mm-hmm.
Like when people talking about like, oh yeah, Shadowman, ugh, it like tends to always come up as that kind of like predisposed notion about it.
Okay.
And I was kind of myself like that when I was rereading it, because like, all right, well, let's read Shadowman, but rereading it now, like fresh and even with info of what happens later, I was like, you know what, this is very decent. In a sense, it's the most superhero-ish of all the like characters so far.
Yeah.
Like it's very, and that hasn't been a complaint I heard that it was too, cliched.
Yeah.
So it's not like that was the thing that was too generic. So I was kind of like, why didn't people like this? Because so far, from a first volume, working as kind of like, setting up the whole premise, this felt really good.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I actually really liked it. And I mean, I don't think I would go as far as saying that he's one of my favorite characters now, or he's my favorite character now, but he is one of my favorite characters. Just because the story behind it is really interesting. So I don't really care about the whole, fighting part of it. I don't care that like two characters are fighting. I'm caring about like why characters are fighting, and especially if it's like if it's a political stuff, like if it's old, it's like more the historical fighting, like they're fighting for land or for conquering or for glory or for politics or whatever. Then it's a little bit more interesting because then the fight has some kind of deeper meaning to it. And same with here, they're fighting a war against the dead or against dark, and it's just so interesting. It's interesting to me because it means more when they have something to lose, they have something to gain, and you're kind of invested in their story. I don't really like the whole. I don't know. I feel like that's why I never really liked Superman comics, was because he usually just fought an invasion of some sort. Some huge monster was trying to take over the world, and then Superman went and beat him up. That's how I kind of feel like a lot of the stories were, and it's fine for like a series or something like that. Like if I watch one of the Justice League movies, one of those animated ones, it's not very complicated about like what their plot is. It's just there's a villain, let's go beat him. And sometimes it's a little bit cunning when Batman has to kind of do something else, but otherwise it's just, that's it. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why I liked the Throne of Atlantis movie so much, is because there was so much more. There was like politics behind it. The idea that they killed the sea life, they killed the king, so now Atlantis needs to attack the land. And I love that because there was more behind the fighting than just, I don't like you, let's fight. Actually, that's pretty much what it is, isn't it? I don't like you, let's fight. And so
isn't that?
Yeah, I was about to say, isn't that what
conflicts?
all conflict is? Yeah. But I mean, I think you know what I mean. But it's like it's so interesting because you have these ghosts, you have this teacher, or this Dark who killed his teacher, which is, I think, an amazing metaphor. And I really hope that's going to bite him in the ass at some point. But I think this is a really decent comic, and definitely one of my favorite comics in this series. One thing I gotta say, I'm very distracted by Dox's proportions.
Hey, don't be insensitive, Chris.
No, not like an insensitive one, because it doesn't. I don't know, because it doesn't feel like he's like a midget or a dwarf or something like that. He feels like he's just
little person.
He's small. Like he's just like small, but he's perfectly proportioned. It's weird. It's like I'm looking at the picture where he's on the cross. And
yeah, because we get to see his muscles.
Yeah, and it just looks so. Yeah, his muscles look also really like. I don't know. There's something about it where I'm just like, that looks odd. Because probably because I didn't really notice that he was small. Like people kept mentioning it that he's small, but I never really saw him directly stand next to anyone. So I think that's why it kind of looked different or weird when I saw him then in that pose. But yeah, that's all I need to say about that. But yeah, great premise.
Yeah,
I really
don't
love
know.
this
I think
comic.
it's kind of
Yeah, I can't wait to read more.
right. Yeah, nice.
But what I do, I want to
Well,
mention
you
one
know,
thing. I want to mention one thing. What I really did like about this character was that Jack was given the choice, and I think that's something that's very important in creating characters, is to have them make the choice to be the superhero or to be the hero. Because I really don't like it when being the hero is the burden that they have to carry. I like it when it's them driving the story, and like with here, Jack, he could have walked away. You know, he could have walked away from everything. He could have walked away from the curse kind of thing. He could have walked away from Shadowman. He could have walked away from saving his friend. He could have walked away from all of it. But this shows him as a character. He's the character who's like, okay, no, I need to take this. I need to do this. I need to take the responsibility in order to save this person that that I just met. But still, I want to save people and help people. So it makes him as a character much more interesting.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, of course, it's very on the nose about it. With them actually saying it out loud. I'm giving you a choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree, and we've discussed that ourselves when we've come up with characters and stories for films and comics. Because that can often be a trap or issue with our ideas that, like, well, but why are they doing this, or
Right.
why is this happening in a sense?
Yeah.
And not really setting up a point where because again, it's like a character establishing moment. I mean, the motives can vary a lot.
Yeah.
It could be something as simple as you wanted to get some of that booty. So no, but it could be anything. But there was a choice made, as you said. It's not just. I mean, in a sense, in a sense, this was a bit of a mix of the two concepts. Because, he had it from birth, it was just hidden away by the medallion.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that. Ask about that medallion. Was was the medallion hiding him from Shadowman or from Mr. Twist?
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, because I couldn't.
Are you thinking if it was suppressing it more?
Yeah, I thought he had.
No, actually, I think it was.
Yeah, because when I was reading the comic, I mean, I couldn't really decipher it in that sense, but I was kind of looking at it, and I wasn't sure because he got both at the kind of the same time. So I thought that because they find him first, or those two police officers who get changed, they find him before he gets the power. So I think that once he got shot, that's when he got the power. So I thought that the medallion was cloaking him from from evil. So he could have like kept his life, like he could have continued his life without having to deal with evil going after him or something like that.
So, well, I think the idea was because, and I also like that idea because it was an interesting way of, within the setting, I felt it was believable and logical, like a system in place to like get the plot rolling.
Yeah.
But I believe the idea is that I don't think he himself had because the Shadowman is this spirit, the Loa, as they were describing.
Yeah.
And I don't think when he was born he had it in him.
Yeah.
So, and this medallion hid him from everything, like both good and evil, and in between. Like supernatural creatures could not find him.
Yeah, well, I think
that's what Alyssa mentions.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at,
and then Docs also mentions it.
I'm looking at the panel right now, and it kind of, you can see it right now, is that when he throws away the medallion, he becomes engulfed in shadow, and then there's the long shadow behind him. So I think that's exactly what it was. Also interesting. I think it would be so awesome if it turns out that detective was a devil as well, like some sort of, the guy who gave him the information on his parents.
So they were just trying to get him to keep away from it all?
No, I think it would be so good if he was like a demon as well, and he was just manipulating him to kind of disown his parents and then cut away any ties from that medallion or whatever, and then he decides to take it off. I mean, again, it would be very, like, I don't think, that wouldn't make much sense because they couldn't have found him without the medallion.
Well, yeah, it would have gone, it would have ruined that whole premise.
Yeah, but I think that could have been a cool
Well, it's
callback.
always tricky with these things.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, no, but it's I believe that was the most things I wanted to go over. I
Mm.
mean, we've gone through a lot of other topics as we were discussing,
Yeah.
and come up with other things.
I gotta
So
say,
nice to see that there's another.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I do like this character. But
Oh.
What?
Uh, yeah, it's calling. Yeah, hold on.
We regret to interrupt this podcast because Humphrey is getting a call.
Hello. Johannes, sabbat min podcast.
We will be with you shortly. Dun 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 dun. Da 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 da.
So sorry about that.
We will. Yeah. So basically, what I was about to say was that I feel the logo is a little bit too much. Do you know what I mean? His logo on his
So the
chest.
Shadowman logo.
Yeah, because
Okay.
it's too big. You know what I mean? And I think it's a little bit too detailed to be a real logo. It's just.
So no, I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what it's supposed to be, and it's really nice. I mean, I think it would be great logo for the title. To have that in the M of the Shadowman, but to have it on the costume, it just looks a little bit too. I don't know.
It's like those flags, like those country flags, where they have really ornate things in them.
Yeah. It's just.
Like Mexico's, gotta have an eagle, strangling the snake, and oh Jesus.
Yeah.
You piss off all your you piss off all the kids of that nationality when you're in international school as kids, and you have to draw your country's flag. Then I just do draw 4 blue squares and a yellow cross, and I'm done.
Actually, your flag could have 3 crowns in it too.
So not an official thing. There are some that have it, but the official flag doesn't.
Doesn't the Mexican flag though? Isn't that also the official Mexican flag? When it has the.
Sorry. Were you referring? Yeah, no, the official one has the eagle in it.
Yeah, but then the normal one also does not have the eagle in it, right?
No, that is the normal one.
Without the eagle.
No, the eagle's in all versions.
Huh. Okay. I thought that was the extra one. With Finland also has the lion in the cross, but that's only the official one. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, now back.
Yeah, no, that's just an extra thing.
Now back from all the flag talk. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, the character does look really nice. I really like the costume. The logo is a little bit too much, I feel, but otherwise, I like the whole. It also reminds me a lot of the voodoo guys from New Orleans. The skull painted on. But I mean, that's probably what he's supposed to be. But yeah, I like it.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where
I'm looking forward to read more.
Well, yeah, well, I don't think either one of us is very well versed in voodoo or New Orleans culture. I mean, for me, most of these concepts actually got me thinking of The Princess and the Frog.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, Dr. Facilier there, the villain. I mean, he's referred to as a Shadow Man.
Yeah.
So that's kind of so I guess that's like a voodoo concept. It's maybe not necessarily good or evil. It's just a concept.
What is this?
So,
I just continued on after I'm on the digital copy that we have, and I just continued on after the story ended, and I'm looking at the variant covers for Shadowman 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are amazing. Yeah. Why can't these be the normal colors?
Oh yeah, because we're discussing. Well, maybe because they're variants, because you want to get people to buy them. So maybe you have to make those look better.
Yeah, but these are so good. Like, why are like, why are people like, okay, here's the normal crappy cover, but you can also get the variant cover, which is much better. It's just like, why can't the variant cover be the actual cover? Because I mean, look at these. These are interesting. These are visually really striking. Like, especially number 2. I love number 2. And even the number 3, the Mr. Twist whole thing where he's holding it, that's amazing. These are really good pieces of art. Why can't these be the actual covers? It's man, all done by Dave Johnson. These are really
Dave.
Yeah, these are really good. I don't understand. Well, again, I'm not in the industry. I have no idea what the politics are behind it or the reason why they choose this, but man, these are some damn good variant covers. There's some good pictures.
Well, when Valiant hears all this, they'll be like in the critic when he's on the English for cab drivers. Oh, the jig is up.
Yeah.
So jump out the window.
Right. I'm sure they will. Actually,
they know they're doing crap.
I'm pretty sure they do. I think I'm going to try to see if I can save this picture somehow and make it into a wallpaper. The number 2 Shadowman number 2 variant is so amazing. I need that as my.
Okay, well, what's called? No, but I mean, what's called? Well, I could share that because there's 2 versions of all the comics on Humble Bundle. So I just downloaded like the smallest version, but they have like a HD version of them as well.
Yeah.
So I could send that over to you, and you could, do that.
Cool. All right.
So, but all right. Well, thank you again, Chris. Lovely having you here.
Of course, I'm happy
on
to
the
be
internet.
Here. I'm happy to be here.
All right. Well, that was the 6th episode of Hardcast, detailing Volume 1 of Shadowman. For more content from me and Chris, check out robotkeith.com and follow us on Twitter at Humphrey_Erm and at @the_Aquarius. At @the_Aquarius. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or listen to us directly on robotkeith.com/podcast.